The U.S. Army is quadrupling the number of Stryker combat vehicles equipped with the new 30mm autocannon. The upgrade will allow Strykers to better fight against similar vehicles used by potential adversaries. It is part of an Army-wide effort to increase firepower as the service swings away from guerrilla wars back to the prospect of big power conflict. The Stryker is an 8-wheeled armored vehicle designed to carry an infantry squad across roads and cross-country to the battlefield. As originally conceived, the Stryker would have light armor and just a 50 caliber machine gun or 40mm automatic grenade launcher. The emphasis was on a fast, lightly armored vehicle that could quickly deploy to distant theaters. The Stryker can travel up to speeds of up to 60 miles an hour on roads and up to 330 miles on a tank of gas. Now, as the U.S. Army contemplates potential ground combat against the mechanized armies of Russia, China, and North Korea, the emphasis is shifting away from mobility and towards firepower. Strykers may be called upon to engage vehicles such as the Russian BMP-3, Chinese ZBD-04, and North Korean BTR-80, and the heavy machine guns and grenade launchers Strykers used to carry artillery to effectively engage Strykers' peers. There are currently 7 Stryker brigade combat teams, and each brigade has about 4,500 soldiers and more than 360 Strykers. In 2016, the U.S. Army decided the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, a Stryker brigade combat team and the only U.S. Army mechanized unit permanently stationed in Europe, needed extra firepower. In the event of a crisis, the 2nd Cavalry would ride to NATO's eastern border, helping to protect countries such as Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. In order to improve the 2nd Cavalry's odds in battle, the Army decided to arm half of the brigade Strykers with Javelin missiles and the other half with the new Protector unmanned turret. The new turreted Stryker is known as Stryker Dragoon. The Protector turret, manufactured by Norwegian defense contractor Kongsberg, is armed with a XM313 30mm autocannon and a M247.62mm machine gun. The autocannon carries 150 rounds of Mk238 high-explosive incendiary tracer for use against ground troops and unarmored targets, and the Mk258 armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot tracer round for use against armored vehicles. It is completely unmanned, operated by the Stryker crew inside the hull of the vehicle. Protector is stabilized, allowing Stryker Dragoon to fire accurately while on the move, and is equipped with a thermal camera, day camera, and laser rangefinder. Now, according to Defense News, the Army has decided to equip 3 more Stryker brigades with the Protector turret. The turret will arm Strykers in 3 of the brigades operating the double V-hull version of the vehicle, an improved version that offers greater protection against improvised explosive devices. The result will split the Army's Stryker force into heavier and lighter brigades. Heavier brigades, equipped with Stryker Dragoons and Javelin missiles, would be more suited to taking on modern mechanized armies. Lighter brigades, armed with remote-controlled heavy machine guns, would still be available for contingencies where the additional, anti-vehicle firepower wasn't needed. Stryker Dragoon is an example of the Army quickly addressing an urgent need from the field, developing the new gun and turret and testing it over a period of about 2.5 years. It's also an example of the service taking existing weapon systems and modifying them to address a different set of threats, instead of buying a new weapon system altogether. By all accounts, the new weapon system is highly successful and a hit with crews. The U.S. will remain the Philippines' only military ally, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin said, amid an increased Chinese presence near a disputed island in the South China Sea. The U.S. is the only world power that is a bastion of democracy and human rights, is and will remain our only military ally. We don't need any other. More than 7,000 soldiers from the Philippines and the U.S. are participating in this year's annual joint military drills, which are taking place despite President Rodrigo Duterte's 2016 call for a split with Washington. The Philippine leader has questioned whether the U.S. would defend his country if China seized disputed reefs and shoals in the sea. U.S. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo assured that a defense treaty would apply if Philippine vessels or planes are attacked in the waters. Locsin's comments were made in response to a Twitter user's suggestion the Philippines ignore the ICC after the U.S. moved to revoke the travel visa of prosecutor Fatou Bensouda. They came days after Duterte, in a rare rebuke to China, warned that if it did not lay off the Philippine-occupied Fatou Island, where more than 200 Chinese ships have been spotted in recent months, he would order his soldiers to defend it with suicide missions. Locsin also tweeted that he would not regret climate change and rising sea levels if it covered the water's disputed reefs and exposes the foolishness of taking and weaponizing them. Pompeo assures Philippines of U.S. protection in event of sea conflict. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo assured the Philippines it would come to its defense if it came under attack in the South China Sea, reaffirming a defense code that Manila's security chiefs have sought to revise. Pompeo said a 1951 Philippine-U.S. mutual defense treaty would be adhered to if its ally was a victim of aggression, and singled out China as a threat to stability. China's island building and military activities in the South China Sea threaten your sovereignty, security and therefore economic livelihood as well as that of the United States, he told a news conference in Manila. Any armed attack on Philippine forces, aircraft or public vessels in the South China Sea will trigger mutual defense obligations. The Philippines, China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Brunei, and Malaysia have competing claims of sovereignty in the waterway, a conduit for in excess of $3.4 trillion of goods carried annually on commercial vessels. Pompeo said those countries were responsible for ensuring these incredibly vital sea lanes are open and China does not pose a threat to closing them down. Speaking in Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lu Kang said that China and the countries around the South China Sea were working hard to protect peace and stability. So if countries outside the region, like the United States, really want to consider the peace, tranquility and well-being of people in the region, then they shouldn't make trouble out of nothing and incite trouble, Lu told reporters. Pompeo also said allies should be wary of risks of using Chinese technology. Philippine Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana has been seeking a review of the treaty, which was agreed 5 years after the Philippines gained independence from the United States in 1946, with the aim of clarifying the extent to which the United States will defend the Philippines should it come under attack. Lorenzana's push for greater certainty comes amid a rapid build-up by Beijing of military assets, Coast Guard and fishing militia in the South China Sea, most notably on and around artificial islands in the Spratly Archipelago. Although there is no longer a permanent U.S. military presence in the Philippines, joint exercises, intelligence exchanges and transfers of hardware take place regularly under various agreements. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, however, is not a fan and believes that the alliance makes his country a potential target of China, with which he wants stronger business ties. Duterte has repeatedly questioned the U.S. commitment, noting that it did nothing to stop China from turning reefs into islands equipped with radar, missiles batteries and hangars for fighter jets, and within firing distance of the Philippines. Philippine Foreign Secretary Teodoro Locsin confirmed that discussions on the defense treaty were taking place, but in his own view, it was better not to be too specific about its parameters. "I believe in the old theory of deterrence," he told reporters. "In vagueness lies the best deterrence." He added, "We are very assured, we are very confident that United States has, in the words of Secretary Pompeo, and in the words of President Trump to our president, we have your back."